All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June 8, 2023 meeting of the Parks and Community Services Commission. We're going to call the meeting to order now, 1 minute late at 6:01 p.m. And now I would like to turn it over, Commissioner Wall, if you'd be so kind to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Wall, and then we'll turn it over to Ms. Fatua for the roll call.
Commissioner Brown,
Present.
Commissioner Garcia Arcos, absent. Commissioner Glab,
Here.
Commissioner Wall,
Here.
Commissioner Wright,
Here.
Vice Chair Dorn Parker, absent. Chair Rutherford,
Here.
we have quorum.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Fatua. And unfortunately, our Vice Chair, Liz Dorn Parker, and Commissioner Christian Garcia Arcos had prearranged trips this evening, could not be here tonight, so we will miss them, but they'll join us next time. Before we go into public comments and commissioner comments, there's a presentation, Project Food Box. So we look forward to hearing that presentation.
Thank you for having us, Chair Rutherford and the rest of the committee. So we are Project Food Box. We're a local organization here out of Costa Mesa. This is, as far as a program summary, it's part of the new medically tailored meal benefit program recently launched in 2022 through the new Cal AIM initiative that Medi-Cal is put together to reimagine what Medi-Cal will look like to the members in California. So what it is, it's a free weekly food box delivery directly to the members' doors on our Amazon-style vans. It's about 15 to 18 pounds of fresh fruits and vegetables, some that we grow ourselves, as well as the family farmers that we work with locally here in California. So it's a total of 24 total weeks eligibility. However, it goes in 12-week cycles. The first 12 weeks, there's a reauthorization period that is conducted through our registered dietitians. Through an assessment, we have 6 on staff, and that continues to grow. So who's eligible? In general terms, Medi-Cal members residing in Orange County with a qualifying condition are eligible. I'll go into that shortly. Also, it's a quick onboarding process and intake process, so it takes about 2 to 5 minutes. Surprisingly to us, we thought there was probably going to be about 100,000 qualified members here on Medi-Cal. There's 975,000 people in Orange County who are eligible for this free benefit, so roughly 1/3 of the population. So who we are, we're actually Sunterra Produce. Our background, we're a grower, packer, shipper of fresh produce since 2000, founded by Steve Brazil. And what we do is partner with multi-generational farms to bring their eco-friendly produce and fruits to Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Stater Brothers, hotels. And if you guys have had a double-double recently, thank you for your support. We do provide the lettuce to In-N-Out. So with that, as you can probably tell, those type of customers were absolutely wiped out during the pandemic in 2020. And so that's 50% of our client base, as well as the other farmers throughout the United States. So what the USDA created is the Farmers to Families Food Box program, which allowed us to not only open our eyes to what we could do for the communities and the health equity and the food insecurity that's troubling the state of California, it also helped support the farmers who really needed it. So what we were able to do is actually start working with the food banks, OC Food Bank, Second Harvest, our good friend Mark Lowry over there, LA Food Bank, as well as those in the Pacific Northwest, as well as Nevada and Arizona. I believe the most important thing here too is that the USDA, everything is inspected from soil to fork. So this picture here on the right is actually a gentleman who heads up the community for the Navajo Nation, and through a mutual connection, we were able to, during the pandemic, we were able to bring 250,000 boxes to the Navajo Nation. 250,000 boxes in a very short amount of time. And this picture here on the right was actually on the Times Magazine during the pandemic because of the work he did. And you can see our boxes there as being part of that. So we're very proud of our work. But because of that, the medically tailored meal programs, Cal Optima tapped us on the shoulder and said, hey, we saw what you did. You know, we're not just giving out, simple little boxes, it's high quality boxes straight to the doorstep. Then they, they did ask us to join. So we are part of the medically tailored meal pilot program as a community support. There's 14 community supports if you're not aware. And the whole purpose is to reduce hospitalizations as well as the healthcare costs. So the stress on the healthcare system. The main benefits that the DHCS has found is that it's addressing poor health outcomes associated with food insecurity, supports complex care needs, as well as supporting special dietary complement or requirements, and then again the reduced hospitalizations. So I'll go into a little bit more detail the eligibility criteria. So in the community here in Orange County, the Cal Optima has set up a couple eligibility criteria, and it's fairly large, but the main one, Medi-Cal members that are qualified, as well as living in Orange County, they have to have one of the three criteria to be able to sign up as a member. One, a chronic condition, and that could be, diabetes to cardiovascular to some type of lung cancer to strokes to more general, mental and behavioral health conditions and disorders. The second one is being discharged recently from a hospital or a skilled nursing facility. The other is an individual with extensive care coordination needs so they can actually access to the healthy foods and get to the store. So because of our program, we're able to bring that to their doorstep. So everyone wants to know what's in the box, and this picture does not do it justice, so take a look at our Instagram. We put real pride in what we put in that box, stuff that we would not, the stuff that we would eat ourselves. So you're thinking asparagus to celery to Brussels sprouts, but mostly those high-end items that are actually out of the reach of the demographics that are on Medi-Cal. We're actually able to bring those to them. It might, $7 for a thing of strawberries may not be a lot for, some of us in this room. We're able to do that on a weekly basis. These families cannot, and we're able to actually provide that to them. So you think those strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, it's really a culinary experience for them, and because of our relationships and the resources we have, we're able to do that. So the 6 box options, though, for these families are diabetes, cardiac, unfortunately a little boring, but the renal one, the immune support, and low sodium and gluten-free boxes. So our registered dietitian will actually determine that, what goes in there. There's about 50 items that typically for each menu that can go in there. So they're not receiving the same box every week. It's a new box every week. It's never the same thing. I'm sure most of us would actually want this. It's about $75 worth of value in the store that they're getting for free. So I want to go into the how. I'm sure that's what you guys are wanting to know. And it's a 5-step process. Seems like a lot, but one, it's members can self-referral or a medical professional or liaison. 2, a member success team together all delivering contact information. And then 3, a registered dietitian who is able to determine the suitable box and make sure it's culturally appropriate. So from there, we're able to bring it to our produce packing team, which is down in Brawley where the farms and the processing is at, and is delivered up here to Fullerton to our distribution center to deliver to the doorstep. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the presentation and the work you're doing.
So they may have questions if you want, but I do want to thank Andrew. I had met with him previously and other members of our team. I know he has been in contact with Lucy Sang, our community outreach coordinator at our senior center, who was already well aware of the program and trying to get the word out. They were at I Love Costa Mesa Day. Our staff were distributing this along with other information. So we really appreciate you coming tonight and doing the proposal. And I mean, they're definitely, when you showed the video when we had our meeting, and it was a great box of produce that I would definitely put in my cart when I was at the store too. So thank you for being here, and
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Awesome. Are there any commissioner questions at this time? Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. It's inspiring to see this. I was just curious, the $975,000 8,000 is a really big number. It surprised me. How many people do you serve?
It's a great question. So we're growing at a pretty, for good and bad, right? We're expanding pretty rapidly. We'll be going to the other counties here probably by July 1st. We're just finishing up some paperwork, but we're started with 2 boxes our first week. We're now over 8,000 families or individual members that we're reaching. So that was in November. So not even 1%. Yeah.
Are most of the farms based in California?
That's correct. Locally. Yep.
All of them or most
Yeah.
of them?
All of them.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
We know the growers ourselves. So, I mean, it's great. Yep.
That's huge.
Yeah.
You guys get big props for that.
Thank you.
How do you think about the difference in the numbers? Like, what kind of I'm just curious, like what kind of conversations you have in terms of increasing, meeting the need, and really, I guess I'm kind of curious about, are there statewide conversations about that, or?
That's why Steve's not here today. So he just got back from Sacramento. It's actually more nationally. We've been talking with the USDA and the senators, part of the Ag Committee. So yeah, we've been pretty involved. It's pretty significant, and yeah, so we're definitely involved and definitely need some help expanding it.
And how is this being promoted, marketed, advertised, however you want to use the term?
That's a great question. So when we did find out that you gotta find out how to get to bring awareness to the program, we took the grassroots approach. So myself, even Steve, the founder of the company, we have our street team. We're at community events, health events. We're with the medical community. We're with all sorts of, we're in the community. It's very involved. Jason's been a big promoter and supporter, since we've met, and we really appreciate him. But it's from the local politicians and the commissioners and the city council to the nonprofit religious organizations, and the list goes on. So we're really involved out there in the streets.
And one more question. Commissioner Brown mentioned the size and scope when you say 975,000. That's a gigantic number. How do you scale to hit that, especially when you talk about potentially going nationwide with an initiative like this? How do you do that?
I think through relationships would be the best way, but bringing awareness is bringing value to the people. That box that we provide people is really, it's the lifeblood for them, and it comes back to that box. And if it was just another simple something, people wouldn't be talking about it. But it's really a lot of it's word of mouth. And when it comes to their door, take a look at our Facebook, take a look at the comments, and you'll see that it's really changing the lives. So it's really about the word of mouth, kind of that network effect.
One of the areas that I think we were targeting, and when we met with them, was the mobile home community, and making sure it got to them, and the word of mouth would travel through the mobile homes. So if you have friends, family members, neighbors that are in that community, it's great to get the word there. He'll probably come do a presentation like this in front of our mobile home committee. That is another great starting point, along with the events, our health fair, things like that.
That's great. Yeah, we just Steve went and spoke in front of Huntington Beach, I guess would be called Mobile Home Coalition on Saturday. So yeah, so like I said, we're out there.
Where do you go to apply to get the box? Is there a
Yeah, I
place
kind of zipped through it. This timer was going a little crazy for me. So a couple things. We have our website, which is what you can go to, where it says grocery delivery. They can call our number, which also that's the quickest way.
Is it on that slide?
It's on that
Let's
slide.
pull that
Yeah.
slide back up.
The second to the. It's on the flyer. So the other thing that I would note is that we are very inclusive with, we have multilingual on staff as far as our 15-member success teams, as well as all of our flyers are in the 6 main languages plus Arabic for Orange County. So you're looking at Korean, you're looking at Spanish, English, Vietnamese, Mandarin, Farsi, and I might be missing one, but that QR code, the calling number right there, is the best way to reach us. And then again, we're out there they sign up at the events, food distributions to community events.
Is Medi-Cal helping to promote
No.
too? No? They won't?
Yeah, they got to be neutral party.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you reached out to schools? Like I know I used to teach at Santa Ana High School, and they used to have once a week people lined up down the block to give away free produce.
Yeah, Santa Ana Unified.
Okay.
Once you get through that fortress, yes, we're working with them. They've been a great supporter.
Okay.
Doing some work with Anaheim as well, as far as the Faces team. So yeah, they've been great. Not Costa Mesa yet.
Well, that's one thing you can do is let us know how we can help.
Yeah.
I do have a question though, because of the specific population that you're serving. I think there's a lot of overlap. You know, the biggest homelessness prevention program in permanent supportive housing and OC right now is the voucher system. Those individuals that are getting vouchers, and a lot of times if they have a chronic condition, they're fast-tracked, you know, out of that situation and into a housing situation. And this is a big, you know, I think this could be a big part for that population of helping them secure stable housing when they're off the street. So I'm just wondering, have you had any of those conversations with the Social Services Agency or United Way or any of those other groups that are working on those big voucher contracts for homeless people right now?
Specifically, to give names, I can't say that, but the social services department, the social services organizations, United Way not specifically, but big supporters as well. So we're definitely in communication and working with them. So yeah, we are. And they've been huge, like getting awareness out there, especially with, I know the housing is probably the biggest, as far as community support's the most important thing, Cal Optima and the insurance, because that's actually another community support like us, but a different service. So we're working closely with them.
Very cool. All right, well, seeing no other questions, thank you again for your time, Andrew.
Yeah.
We appreciate you sharing this info with us.
Thank you.
Good luck
Yeah,
on your work moving forward. We
appreciate it. Thank you all.
All right, well, that's our presentation. We will move on to public comments now for matters not listed on the agenda. If there's any members of the public that would like to speak. Good evening, Ms. Tanaka.
Good evening, commissioners. Good evening, staff. My name is Jen Tanaka. I'm a resident of Costa Mesa and a neighbor of Harper Park. I spoke on Harper Park 2 days ago at the City Council meeting. I had slides prepared for that meeting. I didn't bring them this time. I didn't think it was necessary. Since you are Parks Commissioners, I'll take the liberty of assuming you have some knowledge of Harper Park. As you may have heard, about 4 weeks ago, there was a large fence. It kind of appeared out of nowhere from the residents' perspective, out of the blue in Harper Park, and it cut the available green space to resident use by about 90%. And it really disrupted the normal use of this park. And so, you know, it's my neighborhood park, so it kind of led me to have some questions. You may have also heard there was no signage or other information provided on the fencing itself, other than a bunch of no signs telling everyone what they could no longer do, where they couldn't go. So I expressed at council that this fence is not a great solution to a questionable problem, and it had very poor rollout. And I reiterate my ask to you that I had 2 nights ago, that we should work with Newport Mesa to do what we can to remove it and then negotiate with them, figure out a better solution. But what I want to take a minute to talk about tonight is communication. The only reason I got interested in this matter at all was there was no information provided other than those big red no signs. I think if there had just been a sign that says, you know, this fence is a pilot to address this or that problem, I would have had questions, but I wouldn't have questioned why it was happening. And then if there had just been even a number to call or a QR code to scan, I probably would have just gotten my info and called it a day. But I think that we can do better with our providing information to residents. And I think committing to informing residents really has 2 huge benefits. One is just education, so nosy people like myself can know better. and learn more. I mean, there are people who use Harper Park twice a day, every day. And so they're going to notice changes. And so just educating them, I think, would save everyone a lot of headaches. And I think the other that's even more important is to ensure that we actually have a good explanation to provide. And I think that's where the big breakdown in Harper was. I think if we knew that we owed the residents a clear public explanation for big changes, I think we would have pressed Newport Mesa maybe a bit harder to explain the problem they're trying to solve and why this drastic step was necessary. So I think that would have really, really helped. We're going to embark on some big parks projects. I've said the same thing about traffic calming with respect to traffic installations, that when you change things without residents understanding what you're trying to do, they're going to assume it's bad unless you explain why it's good. So I really encourage you to consider doing a little bit more, encouraging staff who are doing a great job to just explain what they're doing when they're making these changes.
Thank you, Ms. Tanaka. We appreciate your comments. And I think many of those concerns are shared by commissioners. So I hope that Director Minter, you could consider addressing that in your director's report. I know I've sent you an email about that. But we'll move on. Ms. Fatua, are there any members of the public that would like to comment over Zoom?
There are current no members on Zoom.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we will close public comments then and move on to commissioner comments. We'll just go down the line. Commissioner Glab, would you like to lead us off tonight?
Sure. Yes. So recently, the Costa Mesa High School wrestling and baseball teams held their banquets at the Norma Herzog Center, and I just wanted to compliment the city and the staff. Both of them were fantastic events. We got lots of compliments from the parents, and the staff, Victoria, was very accommodating. And everything just went smooth. Got a state-of-the-art AV system there and a very large kitchen. And so I'll be working on the football team to have their banquet there and the rest of the sports programs as well as VAPA. So I just wanted to say it was a great experience and we thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Commissioner Glab. Commissioner Brown, you want to go next?
Sure. I just want to say that I am very excited to see all of the programs that are going to take place over the summer. It's exciting to go into the season with everything planned. I know you often hear us talk about, we're doing so much, how are we managing it? And I do think that the summer is like the time to have all these events. And so I would just say I'm excited, and I get the sense from others that people are looking forward to the variety of things that we offer. And I just wanted to take a moment and actually respond to Ms. Tanaka too, or perhaps echo the chair's encouragement for us to discuss this later. I mean, for those many of you here, public engagement is something that's near and dear to my heart, and outreach is a part of that. Engagement in terms of also strategizing how to solve problems could be another part of that. And when you have people who are not only invited and notified, but included in the process, even if it's at a superficial level, I think it could lead somewhere very productive. So I just, want to say that I appreciate you sharing those comments with City Council and with us tonight, and that I think there are many of us who really see this as something that's important for the future of Costa Mesa.
Awesome. Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Wall.
This must be Harper Park Day. Because I also want to acknowledge Ms. Tanaka's comments this evening. I actually went down to Harper Park this morning because I was involved in some of the back and forth on Facebook where there was a lot of discussion going on about Harper. And so nothing beats going to take a look for yourself. And at 9:30 this morning, that park was busy. There were so many moms and kids running around there, and they were having a good time. And it was interesting because without knowing specifically where the entry and exit point was for the chained-in area where the park is, I sat there and watched to see, and there was one gate that a mom and her 2 children went through, so at least I knew how to get in and get out of the park, which was a bit of a puzzlement until I saw them leave. But I would agree that this is something that would warrant some active consideration and see what we can do to come up with some workable solutions. And I agree with the communications part. If you let people know what's going on, you may not necessarily agree, but at least you know. but to feel like no one's communicating with us, that can add to the frustration. So you got friends here.
Thank you, Commissioner Wall and Commissioner Wright.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Good to see you. Happy to be here. I'm going to open up my comments with just some reflections on our last meeting and what has been accomplished this month. As I was watching last month's meeting and watching the council approve the budget, I just felt really proud of the recommendations that we made as a commission. I felt that they were well distributed and weighed with intention. And specifically, I want to say congratulations to the Brentwood families that have advocated very ferociously on their behalves and for their children and their grandparents. And congratulations on getting approval for moving to phase 1, which was also our recommendation. So I'm proud that we were able to support them in that fashion. And I think it shows that our suggestions do matter and our holding of space for the community and the public to come does matter as well. In regards to community engagement and communication with the public, I'm really appreciative that we dove into that into our last meeting, and I do believe that it's a worthy process to continue enhancing and pressing into, and I'm looking forward to kind of hearing how we can do better with that with upcoming projects or programs like what we'll be seeing today. And then in regard to kind of our discussion and what was highlighted in the budget for West Side Parks and the Park Development Fund, I'm really grateful that there is consensus among us and among council that that is a priority of all of ours, is to create more space, more open space, green space in our underserved neighborhoods. And I do think it was a really good idea or suggestion that we had last meeting to activate like different community programs in those neighborhoods until we do purchase more space or expand, Ketchum. So I'm really excited to see that kind of develop over time. And then in regards to Harper Park, I feel like it is somewhat like the final straw or a true manifestation of the fact that we don't have the joint use agreement in place yet. And so I've been trying my best to understand more about the process, and I really appreciate that Newport Mesa, the Board of Trustees President Anderson, she sent an email to a few of us, and just to fill everyone in, I felt like I got a much clearer picture of their understanding of the scenario, and she literally gave some really helpful bullet points. And something specific that I wasn't even aware of was that Newport Mesa is requesting staff be present when she gave 2 schools as an example are open on weekends or evenings. And so that's really important for us to know, I think, in the bigger picture of things, but also to celebrate a recent win, which was that council did approve in the budget to give the city manager the authority to add a new full-time or part-time staff member in regards to the use of the school fields. So that's a win that we just got 2 days ago to push this item forward. And Harper Park is a perfect example of how we could be mending or collaborating better with, our government, our fellow government entities. However, another success that we have had or are having in light of getting more open space, better collaboration on West Side is the Luke Davis Field is opening. So if you didn't know, on June 17th, we're opening the field. I really love that it's being joined with another event, like a movie in the park. And I also really liked the flyers and the QR code. So I thought that was really good marketing print material. And to close, I am looking forward to us all metaphorically visiting the future open spaces master plan. I think as we continue dialoguing about what's important to us and what we think the city could do better, this could have a really lasting impact on putting that into effect. Something that we talked about in the last meeting that I thought was really smart and I would love everyone to start thinking about is how we can accommodate additional green space along all of the newly rezoned corridors where additional housing will be coming along in the city, especially if we want to uphold some type of 15-minute walk standard. So yeah, a lot of exciting things to come. Thank you for listening, and I really just wanted everyone to hear about all the progress we're making and that you all matter very much in parks and community services. And thank you, staff, for executing on all of the amazing ideas.
Wonderful. Well, hard to follow that. Thank you, Commissioner Wright. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, our Vice Chair, Ms. Dorn Parker, could not be here tonight, but she did send a statement. So I'm going to go ahead and read a statement on behalf of our Vice Chair. Thank you, my fellow commissioners. I appreciate all of the work, time, and dedication you all are accomplishing on behalf of our city's residents. After our great and robust conversation last meeting, I took the parks in my community to better understand communication standards that will work for them. At times I get stuck in what works for me, but many times it is not how others receive and process information. We know that a few of the parks in the 6th district have had changes and will have changes coming up. So I really needed to understand how to best communicate these changes, ask for input, and overall see where they need improvement, help for better access and use. I found just a ton of misinformation people had, frustration with not knowing where to find information, and overall wanting to be a part of improvements and ideas of how to be able to use our parks in a way that works for their needs. You can imagine the solutions and ideas were quite a range. However, one of the consistent words was frustration and anger, quote unquote, and not informed about the rules, quote unquote. Many people were angry and frustrated simply because they were not feeling heard, not believing the city cared for their needs in our parks and how to plan for multiple needs of the same space in an organized way, i.e. for dogs, kids, playgrounds, shade, seating, family gatherings, etc. Here are my suggestions after a non-research-based collection I gathered. Commissioner Wright had a wonderful suggestion to utilize simple, non-expansive messaging through signs, similar to realtor signs or campaign signs. Place them around parks that offer QR codes, websites, and a staff phone number for residents to call with questions. Number 2, make certain these link to some sort of landing page about updates on parks. Ideally, each park with these signs would have their own landing page that can be updated monthly and include how to utilize the space for gatherings and repeat the no dogs off leash message. But a landing page devoted to critical information and updates is a bare minimum. Number 3, make certain to post clearly marked signs about how to use the park. If you look at the NMUSD signs, they are simple, large letters, and really easy to read, and posted often throughout each and every entrance point. Many pointed to the city signs as a single sign with too many words, too small font, and many are unable to read from a few feet away. Or they stopped paying attention because most on the list had nothing to do with their relevant use of the park. Possibly a few signs that are permanent are devoted to different uses. One for dogs, one for limited hours, time at use, one for other rules, etc. Number 4, big issue. Install pooping bags around the park, not just on a single entrance point. Many of the dog owners I spoke with wanted to be good about picking up poop, but without these bags and trash cans, many did not have enough bags, forgot them, or we just don't know. Our vice chair is as frustrated as the next dog owner. But by denying those resources, does nothing but leave uncollected dog waste around for kiddos and residents to step in. Have a great meeting, and we will see you in July. So awesome. Thank you to our vice chair for providing those statements and her continued input. I'll save my comments for tonight. I know we have some great things to talk about. I have some concerns to address in terms of items that I think are quite delayed, such as the open space master plan. So on the one hand, we're making great strides on certain things, but I do think we need to keep our focus on and not let things get delayed, such as the open space master plan has been. So I don't think that's an acceptable delay. for the city for such a significant project. But anyways, I'll save those comments for our discussion in the director's report. So we will close commissioner comments at this point, and now we'll go to old business. Only one item old business, and that's the minutes from our last meeting. Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
I have a motion to make, which is I would like to move to approve these at the July meeting. And the reason is that I think they're incomplete. I don't think that they speak especially to the public engagement conversation in the way that they need to. And my challenge was that when I received the agenda, so that's the motion that I would like to make if there's support for that. My challenge was that when we got the agenda on Monday, by the time I made it online to do my research of reading of the agenda and all the materials, and then doing my homework of watching the video, right? I remember what I said, but and I remember a little bit about what others said, but I needed to rewatch the video. I couldn't find the video, and it turns out I didn't know that you needed to go to the city YouTube channel. Because when I go to the city, I go to the city website, assuming that it's all going to be there, like I find the agenda there. Only when I looked, we only have minutes listed back to February, but there aren't any videos listed. So maybe it's just my bad. Maybe everybody else in the city knows that you're just supposed to go to the YouTube channel, but I didn't. So I didn't get a chance to do my homework because I actually did not know where to go to get this information. So I'm asking for an extension so that I can watch that video. I'm happy to do the homework of making specific recommendations for what I would like to see included, but I would vote for that.
Awesome. Do you want to hit the make motion button?
So I move to approve to consider the approval of these at the July meeting.
I'll second that. If there's any other commissioner comments. Awesome. So we'll just defer approval of our last meeting minutes until the next regular meeting of PAX, if we have that correct. Awesome. Let's call the question, Ms. Fatua, if that's okay.
Motion carries 5-0 to move the minutes to the next commission meeting.
Awesome. Well, that's our only item of old business. Next, we're going to go into new business. Some great programs we're going to hear about today, so that's exciting. First up is a presentation on summer aquatic programs. Director Minter, do you want to give a few introductory words? We'll hand it right over. The floor is yours.
Greetings, Chair and Commission. My name is Kevin Stoddard, and I started with the city 12 years ago as a lifeguard. I'm currently a senior supervisor, and I oversee Movies in the Park, which is going to start on June 17th in Lions Park. I am the liaison to the Historical Preservation Committee. I am the liaison to the Lions Club for the Fish Fry, which will kick off on June 23rd. I oversee contract classes, Smart Camp, the Norma Herzog Community Center, the Senior Center, the Rec Center, and my absolute favorite is the Downtown Aquatic Center. I've been a lifeguard for 20 years, former swimmer, water polo player. I've been baptized in chlorine. Let me tell you, there's no greater feeling than teaching a kid how to swim. So it's my pleasure to talk about the Aquatic Center today. The Downtown Aquatic Center is at 1860 Anaheim Avenue in Lions Park. It's the city's only pool, and it opened in 2001. It sports 4 lanes, 25 yards long, and has a full indoor locker room and showers. It's had several updates and renovations over the years. Most recently, it's received new plaster, new tile, new LED lighting, thermal covers, and just this spring we had the outdoor shower area renovated with improved drainage, sealant, and decking. The Aquatic Center is open year-round, but obviously we make our biggest splash during the summer, and I'm going to go ahead and let Recreation Coordinator Jose Guzman tell a little bit about the specific programs.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose Guzman. I'm the recreation coordinator at the Downtown Recreation Center and the Downtown Aquatic Center. I have almost 20 years of experience of working in parks, recreation, community services, and aquatics. I worked at several different municipalities throughout my time. I also have my bachelor's degree in recreation, my master's degree in recreation administration. And one of the biggest passions in aquatics for me was when I was just a year into lifeguarding. I was 16 years old, and I was guarding a birthday party, and I saw this little girl stepping away from her mom for a second and just started struggling, went to the pool. Before I could even say anything to the mom, she just went right into the water. And ever since then, I think about that little girl's face, her reaction to her jumping into the water and not knowing that she was in danger. And with a newborn son, 2 months old, I think about that, and I just don't want that for my son. And so because of that being said, I want to raise public awareness to water safety, and it is my pleasure to present the programming that we have here at the Downtown Aquatic Center. The first program that I would like to talk about is the Family Open Swim. Family Open Swim Center caters to families who are trying to stay cool and have a good time during the summer. It welcomes all ages to participate. Family Open Swim is available Monday through Friday from 1:30 to 3 p.m. and on Saturdays from 1:15 to 2:30. And one of our year-round programs is adult lap swimming. Adult lap swimming is available to everyone over the age of 16. Hours vary depending on the season. However, during the summer, we're going to offer lap swimming Monday through Friday from 6:30 to 8:30 a.m. and then 11:45 to 1:15 p.m. And if you can't make it there, no problem. We also have something in the evenings on Monday, Wednesday nights from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. and on Saturdays from 8 to 9 a.m. We offer single day and multi-day passes. Lap Swim is one of the most popular programs we offer throughout the year. We have swimmers who have been with us for over decades because of our standing facility and our customer service. And with that being said, I want to talk about a little bit of water safety. Our youth swimming lessons, come make a splash with us during the summer, during our summer swimming session. We offer 25-minute classes with certified instructors based on the Red Cross curriculum. Classes are offered from 3:30 p.m. to 6:10 p.m. on Monday through Thursday. We do extensive training with all of our aquatic staff on how to encourage and progress each child. This program is designed to teach water safety skills, increase water awareness, and reduce potential drownings. If you would like to enroll in our classes but are not sure which class to take, we offer a free level placement testing class for anyone that's interested. Our class ratios for regular group classes are 6 to 1. Adult swimming lessons are also available. It's never too late to learn how to swim. If we offer adult swimming lessons to various levels of skills. If someone's just has a fear of the water, it just has that trauma, past trauma, we cater to that. And if they're looking for stroke refinement, we also work with participants who need that as well. Adult swimming lessons are offered Monday, Wednesdays, and Tuesday, Thursdays during the week. We also offer classes on Saturdays. The class ratio for regular group lessons is 6 to 1. And we also offer smaller condensed classes on Saturdays. Those are our small group lessons, and they're conducted from 10:15 to 1:10 p.m. on Saturdays. The class ratio to that is 4 to 1. And next up, I would like to talk about our water aerobics program. This is an instructor-led program that is a great workout for anyone who's 16 and over to avoid high impact on the joints and bones. This class is a great way to stay in shape, and we cater to anyone's abilities. Classes are offered on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6:20 p.m. to 7 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9:20 to 10 a.m. And last but not least, we also offer Aqua Camp. This program is designed to have a relaxed learning experience and teaches water safety skills while also having fun games and activities in the pool. Aqua Camp is a week-long event that goes from Monday through Friday, and it's an hour and a half long. It goes from 3:30 p.m. to 5 p.m., and every day we have a different theme for each Aqua Camp day. And it's a great program. I'm so happy to be a part of this facility and everything that we have to offer to the city participants who attend. And this concludes our aquatic programming, our Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Just a quick one. Are there any capacity issues at the pool? Because it seems like it would be an awful popular place as we're getting into the summer. That place, it's going to be slammed, and I just wonder if you have any capacity issues.
Summer classes filled up probably about 80% on the first day of registration, actually. Open swim is going to be limited to capacity for 25 to 50 participants per day, depending on number of staff. Lifeguards have been very hard to come by, not just for us, this is nationwide, very hard to come by for quite a while. So 25 to 50, depending on number of staff. And like I said, most of the classes currently are about 90% full.
Any other commissioner questions? Commissioner Wright, looks like you have a question.
I just have more of a creative question. If it seems like you're both really passionate about this, and thank you for your commitment to it. If there's anything that you could do to make the program better, what would you do?
For me, it'd be having more staff so we can offer more services, to be honest with you. But like Kevin mentioned, it's really hard to come by with staff right now. There's just a lifeguard shortage all the way through the country. But that would be amazing if we could have some more staff.
I concur. We used to do free events for the community that I can't do. I just don't have enough staff. But we were themed open night swims, decorate the pool, looked like it had palm trees and garden lanterns all over the pool. They were super cool. And right now for swimming lessons, we're maybe at 30% of the total capacity of what we could provide, what I've done in the past. I think we're about 320 registrations for the summer. I would like to get back to 1,000.
So let's plug our job fair this Saturday. I'm going to say that throughout the night. If you know any lifeguards, send them our way this Saturday, 9 to 12.
I remember that coming up in the study session. I am curious, actually, do people have to be certified as lifeguards to apply, or can that be a part of the application process?
We have a fitness test, so we have to make sure that you know how to swim to a skill level where you can pull a large adult out of the pool. After that, we'll do all the training. There's 3 core certifications that staff require. It's about 80 hours of training in total, but we'll do all of it.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Just 2 questions on my end. Really appreciate the presentation. Do you think that the new pay levels for the hourly staff will have an impact on your ability to recruit new talent this summer?
There was definitely an increase in applicants after we received it. However, that also coincides with annually when I would expect to get an increase in applications. So it's hard for me to tell right now. Like I said, our staffing shortage for aquatics is a little set aside from the rest of the department because it's a national thing. So maybe around winter, spring, if I get an uptick in applications, I might have a better idea how to answer that.
That's correct. Yeah, we did receive a couple more applications, but right now it's a hit or miss. And with the shortage that we have of staff members, I would love to, continue to, like the job fair that we're having this weekend would be very helpful. So hopefully we can get an increase of applications, and not just applications, but quality candidates as well.
Got it. And so you mentioned that the barrier of training and certification that a lifeguard requires is not an issue in this case because the city can help an applicant through that process.
Correct. Years ago, this was really common basically everywhere. You would require to have your your lifeguard certification before you got hired. If you wanted to get promoted to be an instructor, you had to get your water safety certification. It's pretty standard now. I've been doing it for maybe 6 years where I certify everyone.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the information, and I wish you luck at the job fair this weekend. We will open this item if there's any public comments on this. Nobody here? Okay, we'll close public comments. There's no public comments. So thank you again, gentlemen, for the presentation. We're going to move on to the next item of new business, that's summer youth programs.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ashley Thomas, and thank you for this opportunity to speak on the city's youth summer programs. Currently, the youth programs team consists of 40 part-time and 4 full-time staff. As you're aware, 3 of my 4 full-time staff were recently promoted from part-time specialists to full-time specialists. We are thriving to rebuild our part-time team back to 80-plus part-time staff to ensure that all youth programs have the ability to operate and thrive. Tonight, our very own Recreation Supervisor, Tracy Haberger, will be presenting. However, before Tracy begins, like Kevin and Jose, Tracy and I will be telling you a little bit about ourselves. Again, my name is Ashley Thomas. I'm a Senior Recreation Supervisor. I've worked for the city for about almost 15 years now in October, and I started my career as a leader in the ROCS program, the ROCS After School program. My responsibilities range now from youth programs, overseeing youth programs, fields, adults, youth, and adult sports, animal care services, arts and culture services, community gardens, and special events. I oversee 7 full-time staff and 50-plus part-time staff. I graduated and played softball for Vanguard University. Go Lions. I am a wife and a mother of 3. I have 2 kids, Aubrey, who is 3, and Dylan, who is 1, and a fur baby, which is Daisy, and she's my bulldog. I love my job, and I truly do believe parks do make life better. I'd now like to turn it over to Tracy Haberger. She'll introduce herself, and then she'll dive into her brief presentation on this summer's youth programs. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. As Ashley mentioned, I'm Recreation Supervisor Tracy Haberger, currently overseeing the Balearic Community Center, youth programming, and animal care services. Throughout my 16 years with the department, I've largely dedicated my tenure to youth programming, starting as a community services leader in 2006 with the ROCS program and day camp, and continuing my professional development in various aspects, such as facility operations and rentals, developing our social media accounts, training commercial licensed drivers, establishing our animal care services division in 2018, and circling back as a supervisor in youth programs, where staff undergo extensive training for working with children. With the continuous dedication from my Balearic youth programming team, we are proud to offer year-round services to the Costa Mesa community through our day camp, LEAP, ROCS, teens, and youth sports programs. Tonight, I'm pleased to provide you a glimpse into our upcoming summer youth programs. Camp Mini Explorers is a fee-based early childhood camp for children 3 to 5 years old. For 6 weeks, 80 participants will partake in activities that include cooking, science experiments, music, guest speakers, games, and crafts. Our Summer ROCS program is free to Costa Mesa residents and fee-based for non-residents, available to children entering 1st through 6th grade. Participants will enjoy group games, arts and crafts, theme days, and sports at both the Balearic Community Center and the Downtown Recreation Center. Our fee-based Summer Camp Costa Mesa meets for 9 weeks this summer and is available to children entering 1st through 6th grade. Located at Estancia Park, each week 90 campers will participate in sports, on-site guest entertainment, and arts and crafts, as well as traveling to local excursions such as Knott's Berry Farm and Wild Rivers. Summer Teen Camp is also a fee-based 9-week program for teens entering 7th through 10th grade. Based out of the Downtown Recreation Center Teen Center, each week 27 teens will venture to excursions in and out of Orange County, while also enjoying group games, arts and crafts, and friendly competitions. Happy Feet Running Club is a free program to all children in 1st through 8th grade. Over a course of 8 weeks, 60 runners will build their endurance practicing twice a week in short and long distance running exercises. The program concludes on August 5th with a 5K fun run at Fairview Park. Smart Camp is also a free 3-week summer camp jointly run by the Newport Mesa Unified School District and the City of Costa Mesa. Held at Costa Mesa High School, Smart Camp is offered to incoming 4th through 8th graders, providing free introductory and intermediate level instruction in sports, music, and art to encourage children to engage in and explore new hobbies and activities. The Downtown Recreation Center offers free open gym to youth under 18 years old, Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 5 p.m., and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thank you, Commissioners. That concludes our summer youth programs presentation. Please let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Commissioner Glapp, go ahead.
Do you know off the top of your head how many you have registered already for the Smart Camp?
There's about 900, sorry, I oversee Smart Camp. There's about 955 people registered. That comes out to individuals, probably 500 to 600.
All right, seeing no other questions.
They were telling me beforehand that they really wanted questions from the commissioners, so don't hold back.
All right, Commissioner Wright.
Well, I loved hearing your personal stories as well. It's a nice touch, so thank you for sharing about yourselves and your background. I would love to ask you a similar question. If you could change anything about your current programs, what would you do? And then I'd also love to know, in your mind, like, do you have any specific goals or vision for the programs? It sounds kind of a little bit like surfacey to reduce it to numbers, but do you consider maybe like recurring registrations a success metric, or getting fully booked out? Just would love to hear, or surveys, I suppose. Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I'm glad we have plenty of time. I will go program by program. No, overall for youth programs in general, I think collectively as a department look forward to getting our staffing levels up. Therefore, we could move back to similar services that we had prior. So I think that that's definitely a step in the right direction. And then from there, so that's a huge goal of ours, to get our capacity levels, to remove our capacity levels for most programs, and then to go back to our prior capacities prior to like 2018. So I think that's a great first start to meeting that goal, and therefore we can offer the services, whether we re-envision or re-enhance or re-modify those services to meet the trends now that interest our residents and our children. That's great, but at this time we'd be happy to run full programs and operate at full capacity again. So I hope that answers some of your questions. Of course, every single program has their own goals, their own initiatives, their own desires. For instance, the teen program right now, they're re-envisioning what the teen centers look like. What does a renovation look like? How do we update it to where teens are interested in when they walk in? It's the first impressions there. So, I mean, that's more aesthetic, right, than the actual program itself. But what does it look like to bring back teen events again? What interests them now, right? What is interesting to them now? So we're constantly challenging staff to think above and beyond, to be creative, to remove those barriers for them, and so they can program to what the kids' needs are now. So that's part of our goals. I'll let Tracy chime in too. She directly works with each of the programs.
I concur with everything that not only Ashley, but Kevin and Jose have mentioned. Is just getting more staffing on board so we can enhance each of our programs. And not only that, but bringing programs that, went away during the pandemic. So we can serve those children in areas that don't have parks or can't afford to go to an after-school program, and letting them know that, they have a safe place to go. But also raising our capacity limits or eliminating capacity limits, especially in the ROCKS program, which is in high demand. That's our main goal, is to get enough staff so we can eliminate those capacity limits.
If I'm gonna chime on, is the limitations of the facilities that we have as well. A 25-yard pool with 4 lanes does not give us the capacity to do as much as we would like to do based on the community that we have. We're not a huge city, but we're big enough to where having another pool, having a larger pool, would help us serve more residents in a variety of programs. Having another community center, it's something that Monique says to me every other day. I wish we had another community center We have the Balearic Center. That's a city or a school district-owned property that we lease from the school district. That's one of our only community centers. The Downtown Recreation Center, Downtown Aquatic Center are heavily used. The Norma Herzog Community Center, unfortunately, is trying to take the place of the former Neighborhood Community Center, which had a lot more space, a lot more offerings. The Adams Room at the library, which we have rights to, isn't anywhere close to what we had with the Neighborhood Community Center. And if you look at, park to park throughout our system, we just don't have that many facilities. And a lot of times these day camp programs, the custodial care programs, you rely on facilities and able to offer programs. Our Rocks After School Club program, we're working at school sites, trying to build the numbers up. I think there's a couple schools that would like to bring us in. So once we get our staff numbers back up, but even if we get our staffing levels to, pre-pandemic level, we still need to seriously talk about, the addition of facilities so that we can provide the community with the programs that they demand.
I find it really inspiring that both of you said that you wish your programs could reach more people and be like as large as it could possibly be. I think it shows that you are all the right people to be leading the front on that. Something that stood out to me was the affordability of the programs, or that some of them are free. I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about the impact that you've seen with having free or affordable programs.
Currently, for summer, our free programs such as Happy Feet Running Club that hit capacity within the first day. And our Summer Rocks program is currently more than 200 kids signed up for the Balearic Community Center and more than 50 at the Downtown Recreation Center. So there's definitely a need for these free programs. And we just hope we can provide even more.
Just to add to that, we have parents that call in frequently thanking us for how affordable, because they start looking and searching for other options, say we are at capacity, and they realize how affordable our programs and how much the city subsidize our programs to make it affordable for the community. So we get lots of praises, and of course, there's members out there that would love it to be more affordable, right? Or they have multiple kids or discounts, and so there's always those requests as well. But for the most part, parents are very, very gracious, especially once they start shopping around. They realize how much the city's contributing to ensure that it's affordable for our residents.
And for that, we do thank the City Council for their support of not having us focus on revenue generation, to make these programs successful. So it's not just about numbers, but yes, I think the numbers speak to the services that we provide, but we're always grateful to the council for not demanding that we cover costs, not demanding that, the programs pay for themselves, which I have experienced at other cities, and it's not fun when you're basically turning people away because they can't pay. So I think that does speak to the quality of the programs that we provide, but the commitment that the City Council has made to supporting recreation, which is outstanding.
Definitely agree. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, I think we will thank you again and move on to the next item because there's no public comments for this. I will open and close public comment on this item and then move on to the city budget update, which is the last item of new business.
Thank you, Chair. Jay Spinner, Parks and Community Services Director. Going to try to be brief because I'm sure you were all tuned in for the Tuesday night meeting, so I don't want to be redundant. Just to highlight a couple of things that I think either have been mentioned already, but I think that stand out to us in our department. And just so you know, Ashley is going to work on the job fair for Saturday, so we're gonna repeat that over and over. Job fair. There's flyers here. Feel free to take one. Anyone 16 to 25, and we're not even stopping the age at 25, but 16 and up. Make sure they come to the job fair Saturday. All right. Included in the budget approval, there was a variety of things. It was a fantastic presentation from our finance director. But some of the highlights for us include the promotion of 4 of our formerly part-time recreation specialists to full-time. Ashley mentioned that 3 of the ones work in youth programs. With this approval, it's going to have a full-time person dedicated to our elite program, to our teen program, to our senior program, and then to the aquatics program. So We're very grateful for the city council support. For those of you that remember back at the first quarter budget adjustment, or the mid-year, the city council approved 3 recreation specialists to be full-time, and then the community outreach worker. So that's 8 full-time positions we've added to our department in the last 4 months, which is, something that I think we're all very proud of. One of the big changes, and it doesn't necessarily affect this commission that much, but it might change some of the reporting in the director's report, is the animal services program will be shifting to the police department. They already oversee the animal control program, so it was the recommendation of the council that those two merge for efficiencies. We have spent a lot of time, Tracy, Ashley, Monique, myself, and then Jessica, the recreation coordinator for animal services, working with the police department on getting ready for that transition. The request for proposals for contracts for animal services was getting ready to go out. I think it might have gone out already tonight, and that's about getting a new service provider or providers for our animal services. But we are sad to see that program go over to the police department, but I know that they'll do a fine job with it, and we'll be heavily involved in that transition. There was a lot of support at the study session on the budget for the Arts and Culture Master Plan. So the City Council approved the subsidy of the Arts and Culture Master Plan fund with general fund. So that covers, there was basically a hole in the budget from 2 years ago for year 1, a hole in the budget from this year. So they were backfilling those 2 years and then providing the gap in funding between what they anticipate in the cannabis sales tax to fully fund the programs for the year 3 of the Arts and Culture Master Plan. The one piece that was included, I think in year 2 that didn't get funded was a showmobile, which is something that would go to support all of our programs, not just the arts, but that did get held, so we hope to bring that forward in a future budget. It was mentioned about the authorization of the city manager to work with the Newport Mesa Unified School District for the use of fields. The joint use agreement has been under significant evaluation internally, and the city manager is leading us in a path where we're working, hand in hand. I've met regularly with school district officials, so while we haven't been able to release any information, trust me, it is pending. It's stuff that we have put time and effort into, and we want to make sure the needs of the schools and the needs of, the community are both taken into consideration. We're excited to be able to launch that. I think it's a fantastic opportunity, and I know it's not going to be, we're not the first city to do it. A lot of cities do have joint use agreements for use of city fields for park space. So it's basically down to kind of dotting the I's and crossing the T's and making sure that the city council is ready or is comfortable with it, with the recommendations that are going to be made by the city manager, and that the school board as a board is comfortable with it as well. So those conversations are moving forward. There was $384,000 in change that was dedicated towards future park acquisitions, so that's always a good thing. There's some carryover funding that they identified for that. I mentioned the Arts and Culture Master Plan. I know that's not necessarily part of this commission, but it is a big piece of what our department does. Brentwood Park, the recommendation that the commission made to shift it to phase 1 was accepted by City Council. Talked about that. And I think those are the highlights in terms of the budget. Other than the capital improvement part, all of the capital projects that were presented before the commission were approved at the funding levels. I didn't see any changes in that from when it was presented to you as a commission. So with that, I don't have any more to present, but thank you to anyone that attended or tuned in. We were very happy to see it go through in one night. Sometimes those can take a couple of iterations, but we're happy that the budget had passed, and we can start getting ready for fiscal year 23-24. That's that report.
Thank you for the report, Jason. Any commissioner questions? Commissioner Glab, go ahead.
This might be silly. What's the difference between animal services and animal control?
It's definitely not a silly question. Animal control is, I don't know if you watched Tom and Jerry, but that the guy with the net that drove around in the truck, that was just the animal control officers. It's the modern day version. So there are currently 2 full-time animal control officers. I believe they're bringing on another one, but that's animal control. Animal services was what our department did, which Jessica Torrejon was responsible for, tracking the licensing, working with the animal services committee. That was one of the 5 commission committees that our department has. They have a committee that was put in place to help monitor and track some of the animal-related issues. I don't know if anybody realizes this, but on an annual basis, animal control impounds between 500 and 700 animals, mostly dogs and cats, but there are a variety of other species, believe it or not, that get brought in. They are all taken in by currently the Newport Center Animal Hospital that does basic animal care, checks them out, does spays and neuters if required, can microchip them, and then once they're in an adoptable state, they transfer them to the Priceless Pet Rescue, where hopefully they get adopted either here in Costa Mesa or somewhere else. They have a return to owner program. They just a variety of services that once you start digging into, it's fantastic that we do that. But I was a little bit blown away over the last couple of years learning about just the number of animal impounds that happen on an annual basis. So,
thank you.
But it will all be merged in the police department, and we'll be assisting them with that.
I don't have any questions, but thank you for summarizing and highlighting an over 4-hour-long meeting. And I agree with everything you brought up. I think it's really exciting, and it was, like I said in my opener comments, I think it's really cool to tie our work and our feedback that we gave to council and see it get approved. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a really exciting budget. I think it's a historic budget for the city of Costa Mesa. What's happening, especially the funding level for parks and community services from the state grants. So congrats to all of you on being a part of that. It's a really exciting time for the city. So separate from that comment, though, I do just want to follow up on some concerns, Director Mentor. You mentioned it was going to be included in the budget update a number of times, that we had talked about the issue of community center rental rates and that coming up. And so I was wondering, is that included in this update, or what is the plan for us to revisit that aspect of funding and the rates that are charged for residents, non-residents, et cetera?
No, thank you. That's a great question. It was called the consolidated fee schedule, had been in process for, I think, about 5 years, the city's finance department working with a consultant. That was brought forward to the city council at the Tuesday meeting. It was approved. There were some questions from a couple council members about fees, particularly for our facilities. And I said, great timing, because we are looking at trying to bring that whole fee study back to the commission for review of our fees. Some people think review of fees means raising them, but that isn't always the case. So, but we needed to get that before the city council, and it was discussed by the finance director at that meeting. Now the council has approved the format of the consolidated fees. Now they can start looking at any changes that need to be made now that it's all in a consolidated state. So yes, that meeting cleared the way for us to start taking action on it.
When will that come before the commission?
Right after the open space master plan.
Okay, well, that's a non-answer, but I definitely would like to see that come before the commission. 6 months ago, the commission did move unanimously to bring that forward and request that come forward. So we are looking forward to a study session discussing the rental fees, because I think in line with the programming, a lot of the programming that we do, we want it to be affordable and accessible for our residents. And I think that aspect of our fees, the rental fees for community facilities, definitely needs to be looked at. So,
and we're happy to bring it forward. It's making sure that the council is understanding of where things are at. And as the Parks and Community Services Director, I need to make sure the city manager is aware of where things are. And as long as those two things are in order, we can take the next steps in process. So we're absolutely happy to bring that back.
I appreciate that, Director Mentor. And, I definitely feel like I'm just doing my due diligence to say that. Multiple council members have called for that from the dais as well. So I think it'll be a good discussion for us to have. All right. No other commissioner questions. We'll open it up for public comments, and we'll close public comments because there's none. Now we'll go on to the monthly reports, Park Ranger report. Director Minter, would you like to comment on that?
Not much to say for this particular report. I know I have been in communication with our park ranger, the lieutenants, and getting great feedback from them. I have seen an uptick in the number of calls for service, or not calls for service, but services provided, citations, things like that related to vandalism. I will try to keep you as commissioners and in the loop if there are other kind of media-worthy stories. I know I sent one article out about some juveniles that were arrested for tagging along the Joanne Trail. So if those stories do pop up, it's great. It's great to have they're rebuilding the Park Ranger program and trying to reallocate resources to make sure we can get that program back up to capacity in terms of animal or park rangers, so that they can continue to do the patrols. And as we start to add facilities like these school district facilities, we are going to rely on those park rangers to help assist with the monitoring and enforcement and trying to keep our school campuses safe while being used for park space. So we are definitely relying on them and seeing a positive trend, and it would be great to get a full park ranger unit out covering our city's parks and schools.
Any commissioner questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we will open public comments on this item and close public comments on this item, and then we'll move to receive and file the Park Ranger report. Last item on the agenda is the director's report, so that's back to you, Director Minter.
Thank you very much. I do feel like Commissioner Wright kind of stole most of my director's report in her commissioner comments, but I won't take that personally. The job fair, I'm not sure if we mentioned that tonight, but the job fair is this Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon here at City Hall. A great way to come in and come out with pretty much having a job guaranteed. And, for those of us that have worked in recreation for more than a few years, which I know is a lot of the staff that are here before you tonight, this is unprecedented kind of in our business the last couple of years to be able to do a job fair and guarantee, like, hire someone on the spot. Like, my daughter just got hired for a community services leader job in another city. It took about 8 weeks before. Like, she was mad at me because she wasn't getting hired, even though it was a different city than I'm responsible for. So I'm like, I don't know what to say. I don't work for that city. I've told her to come down and join us here. Not sure if there's nepotism there, but it is pretty outstanding. And I hope we're not overly hopeful that we can walk away from Saturday with, quite a few new staff members. But the word is getting out that Costa Mesa pays better than a lot of the neighboring cities. So, even if you know someone that has a job, it might be time to start looking at coming to Costa Mesa. So there's that. Also mentioned the Luke Davis extravaganza on June 17th, 1 o'clock. There will be fun, food, festivities. And again, you took all of my lines, but culminating in the movie Puss in Boots, the final chapter, which will be in the backyard adjacent to the outfield. But we're very excited about having that amenity open to the public, and thank everyone that's been involved in that. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend that particular day. A little things happening that my daughter's graduating from high school this week. So I'm going to be out of the office for a few days. Celebrating her graduating, not her being done with high school, but celebrating her graduation. But we do hope the community comes out. Like I said, there'll be a whole bunch of things for the community to enjoy. And then we'll take a little break and then come back for the movie in the park that evening. So we're excited about that. I also sent some flyers to the commission regarding upcoming meetings for Ketchum-Leibolt Park and Shalimar Park. So that's continuing the journey of public outreach. There is a consultant that's kind of taking the lead on that. There's also working with a sub-consultant. We just had a meeting this evening about those upcoming meetings. It's an organization that works hand in hand with different groups to help bring community ideas together. So I know there were some questions asked of the commission about, all right, well, like, what's the results of the outreach? We don't have that yet because they're still compiling. The feedback we got from Ketchum-Leibolt wasn't substantial enough really to act on, so we're hoping we get more members of the community to come out for that. We have gotten a ton of feedback on Shalimar. The worst part about Shalimar is it's this big, and you get as much feedback as you want, but we still have not even a quarter acre there. So they are looking at creative ways to expand recreational opportunities at Shalimar Park. And that kind of goes back to the facilities. Do we have enough facilities to support the recreational needs of our community? So there's that. I think that was most of it. Briefly on capital projects, there hasn't been a ton of progress. We're still in that limbo state of wanting to make sure everything got approved. The Fairview Park Master Plan update is rolling along. That's something that I wanted to bring up because MIG, the consultant that was hired to facilitate that process, they will be having their first community meeting at the Fairview Park Steering Committee. That's next Wednesday at 6 o'clock in the community meeting room. So it's part of their regular meeting. It is the only item of business on the agenda for that. There might be one other small item of business, but really to kickstart that process, it's the first of 3 meetings that they will have at the Fairview Park Steering Committee. We will also have an opportunity here at the PAX Commission to talk about Fairview Park Master Plan update, and then obviously City Council. So we're still early in the process, but a fantastic consultant, fantastic sub-consultants that we're working with. I think I've mentioned it at the commission before, but just how exciting it is to talk to some of the consultants and their love for plants and trees and weeds and land. And oh my goodness, it's very intoxicating to just go out in the park and walk with them and just see things through the lens with which they operate. So it's been a huge treat to work with the consultants for the Fairview Park Master Plan update. At the end of the director's report, you can see all of the upcoming events. A lot of them have been mentioned already. Some of the ones that haven't, Kevin, you mentioned the fish fry, but our Independence celebration, July 3rd across the street at the Orange County Fairgrounds. We are looking for sponsors, so if you happen to know organizations, businesses, realtors, or whatever that might be interested in sponsoring, there's a whole sponsor sheet. Just give us a call or send us an email. We'll make sure that you get that and you can forward it to any groups that might be interested in sponsoring. It is a fantastic event. It was way bigger than I think I anticipated last year, but oh my gosh, so much fun. And we're making a slightly bigger footprint. We're going to have an even longer fireworks show to help celebrate the city's 70th anniversary. So very excited to have Monique, Francine, our city manager's office that are all helping put that event on. But a lot of exciting things going on. So with that, I will turn it over to Monique to talk a little bit more about programs. And then see what questions you may have.
So I don't have a lot because Jason took my stuff because somebody took his stuff. So this is just going to go on. And I wanted the staff's presentations to speak for themselves. It covers a lot in this, and you can read in the director's report. So I don't want to take away from what they presented tonight. So with my little overview, I just want to kind of contribute to everybody's sentiments of we hope to get more staff this Saturday. Come on out. The goals for our programs is to increase capacity. As Director Minter has said, you ask me every day, do we need more community centers? Do we need more pools? Do we need more parks? You ask a true Parks and Rec professional, we're going to say yes to everything. We need more all the time because that's our passion. That's why we work in this career field. And we can't do any of it. I don't want him to feel like he was here for no reason. So with Rob and his crew, he takes care of a lot of our facilities in addition to parks. So with the budget, we do have a section of building modifications, and those are under 30,000, I believe. So where we do smaller improvements to a lot of our facilities, which help with the draw to some of our programs, especially with our teen center. So just kind of wanted to touch on that. But I'm here for questions if there are any.
And just because, I kind of slid over the capital projects, but there is some of that underground work that's going on, the creation of the scope, finalization of the scope for things like the skateboard park. Our Public Works team, not necessarily Rob, but other staff in Public Works are working on the cafe at Lions Park. So, all of these project sites, Rob and his team will be responsible for the implementation of the installation of the LED lighting, some projects like that. So nothing necessarily to report, but there has been ongoing progress. And we are looking forward to starting to spend that money because, you know, we're already in June of 2023. You know, 2 years will go by quite quickly. So there will be continuous updates, you know, month to month. Now, Rob, anything to add?
Yes, thank you. Just one update in particular. We originally had planned on bringing a little update on the Tewinkle Lakes project. We're going through one more final review. We do have 100% plans completed from the designer. Just out of an abundance of caution and prudence, we're going to do one final review. That review is estimated to take about 3 to 4 weeks. My hope, it's possible maybe at the July meeting it'll be back before you just for a review. If not July, then for sure August. That the timing of the review process taking 3 to 4 weeks and the timing that we have to have a report ready for the agenda may not line up. I'm pushing for it, but my hope is August at the latest that we'll have that finalized and ready to go. And then immediately following your review, we'll start drafting the construction documents and for the bidding process.
Rob and his team have been helping us with some of our other projects, like Monique mentioned. There was some gate issues at the Jack Hammett Sport Complex that they were able to orchestrate getting them rebuilt so that they provide better safety, better security. The netting that is due to go up at the Tewinkle Athletic Complex, I know that's something that's come before this commission, and you know, it takes a little bit longer than we hope, but they were in fabrication the last we checked and looking for dates to schedule that install, and hopefully it'll be just a one day install. So we're excited about that going up. A lot of the Tewinkle related improvements that were mentioned, I know one of the council members had brought it up about detail. It is listed in the CIP if you ever have any questions about the details for some of those projects. But a lot of stuff happening in our department. $15 million in capital projects for parks is an insane amount of money for 1 year, and it's a great problem to have. But we are under the gun and hoping to move forward as quickly as possible. And that concludes my report.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Director Minter. Any commissioner questions or comments? Commissioner Glab, go ahead.
This might be unrelated, but is this the Chargers last year at Jack Hammett Field?
They actually said that on one of our conference calls, yes. So their last summer here, absolutely. You don't have to wear your light blue anymore. You're good.
Can I share? Great.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think we just think alike.
Then you should stay at the whole council meeting too.
I know. I watched it the next morning. I was wondering if you could share what your experience with Harper Park was. Like, when did you... what I'm seeing is that, like, we didn't even really know it was going to happen on our end. So I was wondering if you could share just when did you find out about it? What was your understanding of it? And for what you can share, what can the public possibly expect from now on?
The commission, I think our commissioners are all aware, and I think it's been going back for a couple of years, so it might predate some of you being on the commission, but we had gotten a number of complaints regarding user groups, whether it be our field users that use, because the city does permit or youth sports organizations to use the Harper Park fields as part of the joint use agreement, whether it be field user groups or users of the school's facility. So right now there's a charter school that operates out of there. I think there's a daycare, and then there's like an assessment center. And so some of those complaints had been forwarded to staff and to the commission about dogs being off leash. I know the district was having challenges, not just at Harper, but at a variety of sites. I know our animal control, our police officers, there's had been quite a bit of involvement about the complaints about dogs off leash. We were notified by the district that they were looking at a temporary solution. It was something that had been in place before when they were doing renovation of their fields, and they thought, hey, we need to try to get a handle on it from a safety perspective. It is their property. We do not own Harper Park. We don't own a single blade of grass there. They give us permission to install playground equipment. They gave us permission to operate the park. Rob and his team do mow it, maintain it, fluff the sand. When there is, when we, have funding identified for playground equipment replacement, we would do the placement of the playground. So it is their property, but we are good partners. I love working with our school district. They are amazing when it comes to the services that we as a department are able to provide to the community. Ashley had to leave. I know we can do a whole 3 hours on the field use allocation policy and the joint use agreement and how it relates to all the different user groups, sports user groups that use our facilities, but also that use the school district facilities. So us being the governing body that issues the permits, it is a symbiotic relationship. So, anytime there's a comment about the city and district don't work well together, that is not true. We work with them on a daily basis, and they're fantastic to work with. So we were aware, but I think we were also balancing the complaints, the concerns that were made by the residents and trying to look at both. I think some of the points that were made, increasing communication, absolutely, 100%. I think communication can be better on all sides. Part of the reason the outreach discussion happened is we need to do better. We as a department want to do better, to be better communicators to the community. What other ways, what other methods? So I think we were aware of it, but didn't necessarily think it was our responsibility to promote it. But we're going to continue to work with them on Harper Park, on any of the joint properties that we work together on.
So there was complaint of misuse coming from the school district, kind of warnings leading up to this?
I can't speak for all of the complaints that the district got. I know I have heard about quite a few because of, mostly East Side parks, because of the school / park issues. Just access to information. What do we have? What do we not? The city has a lease agreement, or it's not even a lease agreement. The city has a special agreement with the district to use that small portion of Harper Park, or of Harper School is what we should call it, as a park. The agreement was approved in 1965. I think it's actually overdue for a renewal. I think the renewal was due, and I don't know if it ever got officially memorialized, but it was done in 1965, probably on typing paper. So it's a bit outdated, and maybe that's something that we can look at in terms of a refresh as well. But it is a historic document.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone remembers, but last month Commissioner Dorn Parker had shared about a dog attack that happened at Harper with a child. So I wasn't sure if it was possibly related to other misuse that the district was hearing about. And then just like a clerical, could you clarify the dates for concert in the park? Tuesday, July 15th is not a Tuesday, actually. So is it the date?
Tuesday, July 11th, July 18th, and
okay.
July 25th.
That could just be my sloppy handwriting turned into a graph.
Great, thank you.
5s
My
and 8s and
calendar's
3s all look alike, so yes, thank you for that note. All Tuesdays, unfortunately. Well, we want council to be able to come.
The Concerts in the Park is a collaboration with the Costa Mesa Community Foundation, so just want to make that note.
So if you have a joint use agreement with the district and there's an accident on the property and somebody decides to sue, do they go after the city or do they go after the school district?
I don't know if I want to comment. It kind of depends on what the accident is, or the filing attorney, and what they deem it to be. I would imagine both. But yeah,
I just know that the school district gets sued quite a bit, so it might be one reason why they. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just asking. I don't know.
Yeah, I think on the alleged dog bite issue, I immediately contacted our police department and animal control to look into it, to investigate that matter, to make sure that all was done. So those are not joking matters. I think the safety and responsibility of dog ownership is, imperative, and we do take complaints like that seriously. But that was in no way related to the action taken by the school district.
Commissioner Brown.
the 15 million, like it's just ringing in my ear. And so one of the things I was wanted to follow up on is the suggestion that we've made quite a few times over the last 6 to 9 months about having some sort of tracking document, for lack of a better term. I would say not dissimilar from the types of charts you include in the director report to go through all the programs, but to track the $15 million worth of projects. Is that something that's on your agenda to do? And if so, do you have a sense of when we'll see it?
We've been playing with different methods to do it. You know, each project will have its own schedule, each Gantt chart. You know, once you get to that particular phase, you know, we're not even close to being there for those projects. It's hard because of the timing, but we are trying to find a way to incorporate some more, I don't know, a better way to report information once those projects actually start. You know, I think the Ketchum-Leibold Shalimar discussions right now have gotten a little bit more complicated because there's a consultant involved and then another consultant involved, and then there's going to be a designer, and then there's going to be the actual construction phase. So, you know, how to properly track 4 different contracts. Those are all issued by the city manager's office, so they're not even done through our department. And so what I don't want is to give partial information, and I want the information to be timely. And so, you know, on occasion, if I know things are close, at the posting of the agenda, you know, hopefully we try to get it out a week prior or the Friday before. You know, things change in a week, and sometimes I just, you know, I can always make a note of it, but yeah, I don't know exactly. It's something Laura and I have been working on. You know, she's unfortunately one of the only clerical staff that I have to work on this with me. And with the projects that we're juggling right now, that hasn't been a high priority to create, but it is something that we do have, you know, our finger on, and are trying to make some sort of update that's better understandable for the commission, and something that you guys can share and use when you're, you know, out in the community.
I would say that it's a basic level of communication. So as a commissioner, I don't feel like I'm being communicated with. So I'm going to echo what we heard earlier. And I would say I'm not getting even partial information, and it's late. Do you know, so I know you're concerned about having something that's complete and on time, but I would say something is better than nothing, which is what I feel like I've been getting. So anyways, I just want to reiterate that is really important to me, both as a way to feel like I'm a part of the process, but also to be able to perhaps provide advice. So that's one of the questions I had, and it leads to the second question, which is, I'm curious to know what's on the agenda for the next few months. I appreciated today. It was a lot of reports, and so I'm curious if in the future there are particular projects or things that require a different sort of interaction. I mean, this is public engagement again. That we'll be seeing on the agenda. And I feel like I have to ask that in part because I have no idea about the list of projects and where we're at. So I'm curious, just like I'm actually really curious. So Rob, you began to answer that question. Like we will see either in July or August. I'm open to either. Like it doesn't need to be July, it could be August. But I know that in the next 2 months, you're going to be soliciting feedback on this project. I really appreciate that. Like it gives me a sense of where we're headed, your goal. I would like more of that. So do you have a sense of what the next 3 months, just not even 6 months, just like 3 months?
Well, it's a little unfair that Rob's been working on that project for like 3 years, but 3 years, how long? But yes, that project is nearly complete in terms of design. And when, you know, by that point, we're not even in the design phase for all these projects. And that's what I've tried to reiterate is if I don't have any information to report, I don't want to put it in a report, right? And as I mentioned earlier, it's city council first and city manager. And once, you know, if it's stuff that they're aware of, then I'm happy to bring it before the commission. So it is by no means an effort to withhold information. Any of you, all of you, 7 of you, please, if you have questions about projects, call me, email me, ask me. I will take every single call that you
do you want to say that to every member of the public, or do you want to provide a document that's a public document that everyone has access to?
I do, and I'm trying to work on making sure that we have the right public document that is going to help you effectively communicate the information.
If I could jump in too, because it's a multi-department effort for a lot of these projects, and CIP's fall under Public Works and Director Seth Rahman, that, you know, if you heard at the last budget meeting on Tuesday, he's in the process of trying to figure out, you know, what project manager is going to be assigned to what, you know, what key staff member is going to be able to project manage that particular project. Our city engineer, Sung Yang, he's in the back, you know, he takes on some projects. Then we also have to hire some consultants, as he had mentioned. Our Parks and Community Services Department will help with some of them, like the skate park. So they're still trying to figure out who and where and what staff, or are they going to be consultants? So I feel like there's still more details to figure out on the staff side. And hopefully once we get all that going, there maybe can be some document, but it has to be a multi-department effort, you know. I know Jason gets asked these questions a lot, and so I don't want to, you know, make excuses, but we are still trying to figure out logistics on the back end. And so if that helps anymore, and so the Tewinkle Lakes, you know, Rob has been working on that, and so he knows some of those finite details and can go along. So once we know that, we hope to have those agenda reports ready and those schedules and those timelines, and hopefully we get there. And so it's just a little bit of managing the Tetris of these projects and who's going to go where. So
I hear you. And like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, and this is what you should do, but it has been over 6 months that we've been asking for this. And Rob, I mean, I'm picking on him, but in some ways it's just any sort of signpost where I know where we're headed and that there's going to be some feedback. And in some ways that's even more important than like, I'm not asking personally, I don't know if others feel differently, but I'm not asking for you guys to like pigeonhole yourselves into like, you're going to do it on this date. It's more like, where are we at? You know, like where are things, like roughly, even roughly, I would be happy with, just to give a sense. Because
So I put the capital project update as a specific section in here, and I can try to enhance that in the short term while this other document that I'll try to have for you in the next 3 months. But I try to do that in the director's report. And you say any information is better than none, and I thought I'd try to capture that here.
Yeah. I don't think it's far enough, but maybe I'll let others weigh in if others have opinions on that.
I think that Public Works can definitely work with Director Minter and help assist with that. We are still, I think, as everyone's been saying, we're still very, very early on. So it's not that no progress has been made or nothing's been done, but a lot of that is staff-driven and gathering information. So really no dollars spent, and we can't spend any dollars until after technically July 1 is when the process starts of requesting POs and things of that nature. So most of the work, even with Brentwood Park, you know, even when it was a phase 2 project, there's still work behind the scenes gathering numbers. That's how we got the additional budgetary numbers for this year's budget is getting quotes and getting designs and just the behind the scenes stuff where we're not physically spending dollars. Right. It's just staff time. But definitely moving forward, once July 1 hits, we're going to be making some progress immediately. And I think we can work together to make something, you know, better report, a little bit more detailed report. So
do I get the sense, what kind of project tracking system software does the city use, department by department?
For our documentation, it's mainly internal documents that we provide updates as a group when we meet.
Like Excel? I'm just curious, like what software you guys are all using to track all of this?
For us personally, it's a Word program. It's a living document that we just add as we go. So that's how we do it personally. We do have some Excel spreadsheets that we utilize for tracking purposes. Some of it's financial tracking, PO tracking, and then there's just progress tracking, and that's kind of integrated for internal purposes. There's actually a lot of CIP details in the budget documents. Each project has its own sheet with some details for the start. It's just basic information, but it just kind of tells you what the project's going to be, the anticipated dollar amount, and those types of things.
Interesting. Are there other kinds of software that the city uses to track all of the millions of dollars that?
So there's the city's getting ready to launch publicly in the next few months a TESA program, which is a land management system or land management software, which will help engage the community. It'll start with a mobile app that will replace your current, you know, Costa Mesa app or My Costa Mesa app. It'll look similar. It'll be called the same thing, but it'll link to this land management software system, which will help for workflow management, give the public access for planning purposes if they're doing building renovations or home renovations or the whole planning, fire check, that process. Our special events permit review process that our department is responsible for. Kathia and I work together on citywide special events. That will be through the land management, or Tessa is what her name is, she will be called. So that is a huge undertaking that has been led by Dan, our economic development manager in the development services department. So that has been one of the primary software programs that the city has been pushing out. In terms of that is a workflow management system, but I don't believe we're intending to use that for capital project workflow at this time. It's more of a user interface with the public for the needs of the public, the permits that they request. You know, I'm remodeling my house, I want to expand my business, things like that. But there will be demonstrations. We might even be able to have one here at the PAX Commission, because I think it would be great for you as commissioners to be introduced to it and to also be able to share that information with the public. But there will be a huge kickoff party, if you will, for the land management software system, or Tessa, like I said, her birthday party. As far as capital projects, it is a process with the Public Works. Kelly will be heavily involved in all things related to Fairview Park projects, but Kelly is not an engineer, and a lot of that will require engineering services. Some will be done in-house, some will be contracted engineering services, working with the regulatory agencies to make sure our restoration efforts at Fairview Park. So it'll be a multifaceted project, and I think every contractor out there will have their own tracking system or their own Gantt chart system. So I think trying to facilitate those all into one, I know when I sent out the Ketchum, Leibolt, and Shalimar Park meetings, I know last time I sent them out, it was 2 or 3 days before. This time it was a week before. So we're a little bit better, but I honestly sent them out as soon as, I found out about those meetings that are being orchestrated through the city manager's office and that consultant. So again, I'm not trying to make excuses for why everything is late, as much as saying, sometimes we're at the mercy of all the powers that be, and it's never my goal to withhold information from the commission or from the community in general. Just make sure that I send it out when it's appropriately approved.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna let others weigh in when they want. I'm gonna follow up with just 2 questions and then I'll stop. Do you have a sense of what the next 3 months looks like in terms of agenda items?
Rob, do you happen to know tree-wise I know you talked about T-Winkle. So Public Works is responsible for those items that come forward, the tree removals, as you know, Rob does his excellent reports. But other than T-Winkle, do you know of anything else coming from Public Works?
At this point, I'm not sure what will be coming to PAX. I know there's some lighting projects that are a part of that grant program. Those will most likely go to commission for the purchase. So those will probably down directly to council for the purchase of the lights, as those are set projects. So I don't know that those would come to the PAX Commission. But I can definitely keep you updated on the progress and where that's at. Those are 2 kind of pre-packaged, so to speak, projects that are going to be easy to get. I say easy, but I hate using that terminology, but comparatively will take a little less staff time and should come forward rather quickly, but most likely go to council.
I think some of the other projects that we're trying to finish, the scope for the expansion of the skate park. That is going to be something that we want the commission to be engaged in the design process, but we're still, it's our department that's working on development of the scope. We turn it over to Public Works staff. They do, massage it, do the things they need to do to it, and then they work with us on releasing an RFP to hopefully bring in a designer. Once that designer is on board, then all of a sudden we can engage the community and start that process. We speak with members of the public regularly. I have a growing database full of people that have expressed interest in, weighing in on the skate park and what happens with it. So, we're gathering information at this time. We're gathering contacts, because anybody that's expressed interest, I think some of the community outreach methods that have been discussed, putting signs in place, that's one of the, a very common practice to make sure that the park that is being discussed, has signage there, and then getting mailers out to the neighbors closest to whatever the facility is. That would be all part of that process for the skate park. Skaters come from all over to use our skate park, so signage at the park might be the only way to get to them, because chances are they're not looking at the website every time they come to our skate park. So a variety of methods for that, just for that one project. Ketchum, Libel, and Shalimar. Those will come before the commission at a later date. I don't have that yet. I think what we're trying to do, the meeting that we had with the consultant this afternoon was, all right, we want to be under construction next July. Where does that put us in 6 months? So definitely try to put a timeline together for that. I will make the commitment to you in the next 2 months. I will have some sort of a more specific project outline. Now, don't fault me if all the columns are blank or all the boxes are blank, but I will try to have a format in place that I can share, because I hear you, and I just hope that you understand I'm not trying to withhold information from you. I want you as commissioners to be engaged in this process when we have the information to share.
I don't think a document that's blank is probably worth the time. So I would
The
say
format.
make sure.
I was talking about the format.
Speaking for myself, I would like to see some details. Doesn't need to be like the life cycle of a project, but if you're going to do it, I mean, the way I heard you is that you're not sure it will be full of information. I missed.
We'll have each project listed and what the most recent update is, and if there's any key markers, that we know of at this time, I will include that as well.
Could you also include a public engagement column, so that as for those projects where that's appropriate, where it's been built in, that public engagement is something that's part of the structure for that, and it could be something like plans for public engagement conceptualization, public engagement plan activities, something like that.
Oh, I will try, yes.
Thank you. And then the last question I have is, what does public engagement look like at the upcoming activities? What will be happening there? How will people, how will feedback be solicited? What are the plans for that? Because I know it's a week away.
The Shalimar Park, there's been 2 meetings so far at Shalimar. Both of them included tables.
The upcoming, the ones in a week, the various. So we're holding.
Yeah, I was going back and then I'll go forward. So.
No, but I understand. We've talked about that at the last meeting. I'm actually asking, like, in a week, what are the activities that will take place around public engagement when we show up at those events?
For Shalimar, it's very similar to what was done the last 2 times.
Okay.
Yeah, same consultant, same basic footprint. I think there's been food, snacks, drinks, things like that. The consultant is there. I think the sub-consultant now will be on site for this one, and I don't believe they were there at either of the last 2 meetings. I wish I could remember the name of that sub-consultant, but that's something that I can add to the update.
Anything else based upon the lengthy conversation we had around public engagement last month?
The Constituent Services Division of the City Manager's Office has been taking the lead on that, and that's where the flyers are coming from. They come through my department. I know they work with SOI, they work with Think Together, they work with the Wilson Learning Center. They have a variety of partner organizations that our Constituent Services team works with for all of these, so I know all of the flyers, all that the information is being shared with them. Our Commissioner, Christian, who's not able to be here tonight, he's in the loop in terms of that to help get that information to the contacts he has in the community. Our city manager's office takes the lead on most of the outreach to the west side, based on the relationship they have and the kind of the past history that they have. They've developed a great sense of trust between a lot of the community members, and so that's one of the reasons why on west side projects they do take the lead.
Thank you.
I have thoughts to respond to the discussion on the CIPs. So I think what would be helpful for me personally is, or maybe all of us, I feel like when we see the status updates, we don't even really know like what order they fall in as far as the order of events of how a project like this would be executed. So I would find it really helpful if you just kind of listed from beginning to end the breakdown of the order of events or the process, and then an equivalent expected time frame that we can set our expectations, because then I think it's also this experience of like it's just reading the same paragraph every month and why hasn't nothing changed? But if and you probably have all this information, you see all the moving parts and you know exactly why, it has or hasn't changed. And so almost like a key on the side of your graph or your table chart where we could reference, okay, when he says that it's in the pre-design process, this is what it means. And he predicted that this would take 3 months and it's falling within that parameter. And now I'm like informed looking at it. I do envision a table view with different columns and then just the actual projects all listed out. But other information that I feel I don't know is what is the official start date of the project? What are important deadlines? When do, I know you mentioned you mentioned 2 years today, and then I thought, oh, I don't know when the 2 years began specifically. I like the public engagement column, and then possibly if there is no update, just putting like an asterisk next to it and listing at the bottom, why was there no change? And oftentimes it feels like it's more to do with the consultants, or we were waiting on council's approval for the priorities, right? That was like a real, just kind of kicked the can on it for a few months because we were waiting on them to finally approve the budget or the CIP priorities. So that's what I think would be helpful for me personally, or what I feel like I don't quite get out of the paragraph summary. And that could also be due to the fact that a few of us are quite new on the commission as well. So we just don't really know all that goes into it, and all what the sub-steps even really mean. What do you think about that?
I will try to provide a report that answers as many questions as possible at the appropriate time. Understanding that, yes, there is a lot to each process, and the goal is to bring everyone up to speed on the level. Not everybody knows what pre-design is, so I understand and make a note of that not everyone knows some of the terminology. So if that's the case, I will try to help clarify. I think community outreach opportunities are going to come at certain points during the project, typically during design. Obviously, once you get to the construction phase, we're really only focused on ribbon cuttings or unveilings or whatever that is. So I think that portion does get easier the further along in the project that you get. Keeping in mind that there are other committees, trying to make sure the Fairview Steering Committee gets involved, and because they were going to want to weigh in on their projects, and that other departments may weigh in as well. So I think we'll do what we can to bring as much information as you can. What I don't want is to set myself up to fail and for you guys to expect updates on a monthly basis if there is no update. There may not be updates because the ball's still in the consultant's hand, like you said. But the goal will be to have a month, even monthly doesn't seem like it would be enough, but I'm definitely not doing it more than monthly, to try to make sure updates are happening. Some projects, as Rob said, will move along quicker. The LED lighting, the replacement of lighting is going to be a relatively simple project. But we don't have, I don't know if we have dates on that yet, but that would be probably one of the first things to being brought forward. There is no community outreach component to that, so I would make that comment for a project like that, because it's already been quoted and approved, and we're just waiting on install. It definitely won't happen while the chargers are out there. It will be something we have to coordinate around user groups. Hopefully we get it done before it starts getting dark earlier, because that's when it would be most beneficial to have. So I think it can be a very helpful tool. So it's not about not wanting to do it. Part of this whole discussion does revolve around me and time management of the projects I have on my plate. I am absolutely desperate to complete the open space master plan and bring it before you, because I think that will tie into a lot of the conversations that we've had tonight. But I am, I'm kind of tapped out. Working 70 hours a week is more than I bargained for when I started. And I think the projects, and I've mentioned this before, Jose, Kevin, Tracy, Ashley, what they represent is what our department is about, right? That is my focus on a day-to-day basis, is what's happening in our programs, right? A capital project and whether or not somebody knows, right, when the next outreach meeting is less important to me right now than the safety of our kids and our programs, or making sure that we have enough staff to put on the programs that we want, right? every single week, I have to make a decision about my time. How do I spend my time? And right now, my programs take up a great deal of my time, right? Monique had a great idea a few months ago to bring our staff before you, because hearing about our programs from our full-time staff that are working their tails off, just like I am, just like she is, that's what the fabric of our department is, right? I get capital projects are important. I am not trying to undermine them. I am trying to tell you that I will bring you as much as I can, as often as I can, but I still have to prioritize the programs in our department and the needs of council, right? The requests of council. Council is waiting for me to bring back the open space master plan, just as you are. We will schedule a joint meeting. You will all be invited. The council will all be invited. It'll probably be in this room. I can't wait to get that before you. All right, it is not a lack of want or desire. I have consultants that I reach out to every couple of weeks to make sure that they know where I am and I know where they are in the process. So we are moving forward, at times a snail's pace, right? A snail's pace. So I'm not trying to deprive you of information. I'm merely trying to hopefully run a good department and have programs that the community needs and deserves and is proud of. And that's how I look at every single day when I come to work.
I just want to re-emphasize too some of his comments about the community services part of the parks and community services, and that is why we brought our staff here. And I can promise you in the next 3 months, we'll have at least 1 or 2 more presentations on programming in our community services. The CIPs are the big shiny new toy, but the backbone and the day in and day out of the community services is our staff. And so I promise that the staff will be bringing at least 1 to 2 more presentations in the next 3 months.
I appreciate this, and I don't want it to go as though I don't appreciate the programs, but right now I'm feeling very lectured, and I'm feeling like actually the contributions that I have to the commission aren't very valued as I sit here. I feel lectured by your comment just now, Director, because it's situated as though the contributions that I have, I'll speak for myself, are adding to a workload that sounds absolutely untenable, for which I'm very sorry. I absolutely empathize with that. As a commissioner, as somebody who's donating my time to the city that I live in, I would hope that this is a space where the comments that we have are heard and where there doesn't need to be this defensive posture. So that's how I'm feeling right now. And so when you ask for questions in the future, if I don't say anything, you should be aware that at this meeting, and it's happened at previous meetings, it's been made clear that there is a limit to which you want to hear my comments.
So just to add on to what Commissioner Brown's saying, I think there has been an issue on this commission, Director Minter. We're getting at it with, we're talking about $15 million of capital projects that the city is undertaking right now. And when we're talking about that scope, that shift in focus to something that's bigger than what we've done in years prior, you have consistently heard feedback from Commissioner Brown, from our Vice Chair, Dorn Parker, from myself, from others. And again, I don't want this to be reflected on everybody because I think the programs are amazing right now, right? And we have 2 things, and you touched on it, 2 things that are moving parallel. We have the incredible programs and offerings that the city has done for many years. And we appreciate the people that are the backbone of that work. But at the same time, we're looking at our facilities and parks and open space and trying to reimagine and reinvest in these. And these are key projects. And for the lacking level of detail for the scale and scope of what's being undertaken, I mean, this has less detail than weekly reports that I send as part of my job. So that's why we're talking $15 million of projects, key investments, the largest investment in parks in Westside Costa Mesa in 20 years. We need more detail because, if you're a community member and you go to look at, what's going on with this or what's going on with that, there's not really a clear place to go except people go to the city council meetings to get that information, or they might pull up the parks agenda to see what's going on. If I can't attend a planning commission meeting, I'll pull up the agenda and just to check to see what's going on. Same thing with city council meetings. And this feedback has been repeated by the city council too. The Mayor Pro Tem said in the study session in January the exact same thing. Mayor Pro Tem Harlan asked specifically for a more detailed matrix tracking our ongoing projects. And we're not asking this as some kind of vanity exercise for us. This is a proven way for projects to succeed and be managed well, as if we're tracking things properly, we have clear timelines, we have clear expectations set with all stakeholders. These are proven ways to manage projects successfully. And so you don't necessarily have to respond to that feedback. I think you have given a good response. I think you have good feedback to take back and bring something forward next time that's a revamped version of this list. So I think that is an appropriate request to make. It's not a heavy lift. I can make a table on Excel, right? It's not rocket science. So I do think there is a need for that going forward, especially given the scope of the budget that the city's just approved. We're going to be wanting to track these projects and understand how and what's moving forward, just because we haven't had that scale of activity in the past. So I think that's really important and deserves us speaking to it.
Chair Rutherford, if I may,
Please go ahead.
In Director Minter's defense, I think he's taken on a little bit too much of this responsibility. A majority of these updates should probably be coming from Public Works, and it's something that we can definitely work on and work together to present updates when these projects begin to launch.
I appreciate that, Rob. I know you guys are working hard, long hours, so I do want to, again, reiterate my appreciation for that. And this report is a way to reflect that as well. Show the scope, that's the, right? For any of us at any of our jobs, the onus is on us to communicate the value in what we're doing, and this is part of that, right? I want it to be like crystal clear, right? Because I know it is. I know you're working hard, but we need that to be better communicated, not just to us, but to the public as well. On that note, I did want to ask about the Harper Park fence. I specifically emailed, I think a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, that it is an urgent priority to take the fence down. Unquestionable. I think, it's perhaps shared by many on this commission and on the council, but I'm just curious, given the community pushback from Costa Mesa residents about the fence in Harper Park, I'm curious, what are we doing about it? What was the conversation with the district? When did we last talk to them? And what are we doing to have the fence removed?
Thank you, Chairperson. I think the statements that I made earlier reflect the current status of it. The city manager has been in discussions with the superintendent of schools. I was not involved in those conversations, so I don't feel comfortable making comments on an issue of which I was not in the room on. I know that the public feedback has been received by the mayor and the city council members. I know there have been discussions between various board members and those council members. And as I mentioned, the superintendent and the city manager have talked. Other than that, I'm not at liberty to say the course of action or the timeline for the fence situation. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to unpack it a little bit because, when, shortly after our last commission meeting, I texted with the president of the school board, Ashley Anderson, and she herself had not been informed that the fence was placed. And so I think it was a total communication breakdown, and that's why you're seeing some of this pushback right now. We heard testimony about it from Ms. Tanaka. So I'm just trying to understand, how are we communicating with the district and how are we going to resolve this ultimately?
I'm not sure what else to add other than my previous statement, Chair. I'm not going to speak above the city manager. And I hope that's not what you're asking me to do, but that is all the information I have, and that's all I can share today.
So just to confirm, the city manager's running point on this?
I know that the city manager's had conversations with the superintendent about this topic. I know the city council has been involved. There's been no public discussion that I can release information from.
Got it. I'll just move on to the next item then. I do appreciate the attention to the Harper Park fence. I hope it's clear that there's a strong push to take it down. The open space master plan, I'm honestly shocked to see in the report that there could potentially it could potentially require additional funding for the scope of the agreement. And I just want to outright express my strong opposition to that. I think $250,000 has already been spent on just a paper plan, and we haven't even seen it yet. And so I do think, I am kind of surprised by, just the way that that deadline's been kicked around again and again. And so I'm just, it doesn't have a specific date on here. So this goes back to the project management and tracking and deadlines and timelines. What is the timeline for this? When can we expect to see the open space master plan?
The challenges that came up during the last set of updates, one of the most talked about components of an open space master plan is the 10 minutes, the 15-minute walk to park, right? And there had been some changes to the mapping that are required in order to complete it, and that was not called out in the scope of the amendment that was brought forward a little over a year ago. So the current scope of the agreement doesn't include changes to the mapping that I think is critical. Now we're trying to negotiate how much that would cost so that we can hopefully cover it by the contingency that was included in the award of the contract. But other than that, I mean, I think that's the only component that we're talking about in terms of cost, is making sure that the costs for that don't exceed that was available in the contingency. But that is a potential, and if it does have to go back to council, that's the reason I put it in the report. I wanted the commission to be aware that that might be something that slows the process.
So when was your last meeting with the consultant?
Well, I speak to him weekly. Including last week and the week before. And right now, I'm not going to blame the consultant by any means. Right now, the draft is sitting on my table. I have a few more pages left to go through, and then there's a couple of charts that still need to be updated with information from our finance department. And so hopefully those are all things that can be completed in the next couple of weeks. And then I can give it back to the consultant to finish all of the changes, update the maps, and then we would have something to bring forward, or at least to share with the city manager before getting the meeting scheduled between the city council and the commission.
I'm just trying to understand, if you have weekly meetings with the consultant, when did they submit their first draft of the plan to you?
It was October of last year.
October of last year, you received the first draft of the plan.
I received a preliminary draft of the plan, yes.
That was 9 months ago.
Or more.
I'm just trying to understand, students typically write 80-page papers in less than a semester, and we're talking 9-month delay, $250,000 spent, and we haven't even seen the plan. So I just want to reiterate, I mean, that's a big concern in terms of how that has been managed. I just want to relay that directly. I don't think that's appropriate for it just to be delayed indefinitely with us not given, clear expectations on when it's going to come back or what the budgetary adjustment's going to be. If that's an ongoing negotiation, I think we should be given more clarity on that. Do you have a clear timeline on when we can expect to see this back?
Walking through the timeline I just shared with you, if I can have everything back to them, I would assume that this last round of changes shouldn't take too long. It was more minor adjustments. The review, from the city's perspective and the departments that are involved in it, I can't speak to that, but I would assume that could be done in a month. But as I mentioned earlier, my goal is to get it done as quickly as possible. If I believe there's one meeting in July for the city council, there's one meeting scheduled for August. That would put us probably about September when we would get the joint meeting scheduled.
I mean, I'll just be honest and share my feedback. I'm probably going to go either if you can send it to me, I think that would be great. Otherwise, I'll submit a PRA for it. If we can just get a copy of the draft so we can start looking at it right now, because I don't think we should delay this any further. I think public input is a key part of the editing process, right? That's a key part of knowing what's right and what's wrong in the plan, is putting it out there for stakeholders like us and constituents in the public to look at. So I'm going to formally ask that that plan be sent to the commission either after this meeting, or I will request it.
Draft documents are not covered by the Public Records Act. So
Gotcha.
just for your information.
Are you willing to send us the draft after this meeting so we could look at it and give you some feedback?
No, absolutely not. And for this reason, because I would never do that without the city manager's blessing. And right now, without the city manager having an opportunity to review it, I can't do that. Now, it is incumbent on me to keep the city manager in the loop on the progress of it, and that is what I've been doing.
Has the city manager seen the draft plan yet?
No.
Is there a reason the city manager hasn't seen the draft plan yet?
Because it's not complete.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I just want to reiterate, it's a priority to get that plan done. A lot of money's been spent on it already, you know, taxpayer funds. So I think it's important priority for us to keep tabs on that, to keep following up on it, and to bring that over the finish line.
I'd like to add my thoughts, if that's all right. Are you done?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you. I had a different experience with your comments. It sounds like you have been tasked with expecting to maintain all existing operations and also take on $15 million in new projects, and that is a lot. I don't know if we can provide you with adequate support. It sounds like in collaboration with HR, Public Works, the city manager's office, hopefully these new roles getting bumped up to full time, you'll be able to have better balance in your workload because working 70 hours a week is too much. I also appreciate that you shared that with us, and I do have grace for it. I am okay with the reports until you are able to adjust to all of the ongoing additional job responsibilities. I think what we can take away from this as commissioners is that we should all meet with our council members and ask them what is a priority to them, what should we truly press into, and I think we should weigh that with the bandwidth that is now available by staff, especially considering the summer months. There are things that I do feel have already been approved and supported by council, and we can start there. I don't know. I think I personally, the project manager in me, of course, wants to know more about the CIPs. But honestly, the amount of work that is on the director's plate is not our job to manage. Like, that's kind of out of our control, how much work is on this department's plate right now. So I think that's my takeaway and feedback and what I will report back to the mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright.
I do want to take a moment to apologize. If my statements came across as condescending, I 100% apologize. I do not like the thought of complaining of my workload to you as commissioners. You are not responsible for my workload. I was asking for some latitude and to buy some time until we got to the point where we had more information to share. Unfortunately for Rob, I will most likely absolutely take him up on his offer to have Public Works help because I know that I need it. I don't have an analyst that I can dedicate to the capital project program. And one of the asks for my department as we move forward, again, my first priority for this year, for this budget cycle, was programs. That was evidenced not only by the increases to our part-time rates to $20 an hour starting for lifeguards and community services leaders, but the creation of 8 new full-time positions for my department to better serve the community. My next set of questions, my next asks when it comes to needs in our department is to focus on our capital projects and to assist our Fairview Park administrator with the projects that need to happen at Fairview Park. Fairview Park has been underfunded and extremely behind on the projects that Fairview Park needs, not only from OCT and mitigation, but we have wetlands issues that we need to fix. We have restoration efforts that we need to fix. And, we are definitely behind on that. So that is, as the director, the plan of attack that I have is I can't ask for everything in 1 year, right? And that was my first ask was for programs, to help our programs thrive. Moving forward, Fairview Park, capital projects, working with the Public Works teams, trying to make use of the staff that we have. Because if our deadline is December of 2025, which I believe that's the grant deadline for much of the state grant min money, We are 2.5 years from that, right? So that has to be, that is a priority for public works staff. I think Raja mentioned it at the meeting on Tuesday. He's short five project manager positions, and that's what they're trying to strategize. So I would love to have project managers that could assist with these projects, and that would help them. They're just sending me information that I can drop into the Excel report. But I do stand firm in my commitment to you. In the next 2 months, I will have a document that I hope satisfies your needs. If there are still things missing, I will accept your feedback and try to refine the document to hopefully give you as commissioners the information that you need, not only for yourselves, but for the community. Again, this has never been an attempt to withhold information. I don't believe in that. I believe too much in the value of our commissioners and the service that you provide. But, it is a balancing act between what do we bring forward, right? I think staff, thank you so much for being here tonight and for your efforts. This was somewhat of a last-minute ask on my part because I thought it was extremely valuable that the information on summer programs the week before summer starts is critical. And maybe it's late. Maybe we could have done this 2 or 3 months ago, but there are still some swim lesson spots available, maybe a few. I do hope that you as commissioners, that we can bring things to them. And if there's programs that you do want to hear more about, then we can prioritize those at future meetings and make sure that we bring back other information. I think Project Food Box was a great presentation. We thank them for coming. We're going to continue to find other presenters that can help bring information to the commission, whether it's on senior programs or outreach. But I think that is going to keep coming forward. I would love to, and Lori and I can work on kind of a timeline for what comes before the commission. That way we can help give you guys a projection. I know that's something that staff do for city council reports. They usually look, 2 to 3 months ahead. I can try to do that as well. We do have a couple of council reports that are due for the next city council meeting. Those obviously take priority too, but there is a lot going on. And, I don't want to complain about it because I love my job. I love doing what I do. I love representing these amazing staff members that work tirelessly for our programs. Jose, I haven't known him that long. He's only worked for us for 1.5 years, right? Less than that. Just had a baby, he has a 2-month-old at home, but, he's still here and committed to us and our programs. Kevin, all the effort Kevin's put for just the Lions Club fish fry alone, that, as he mentioned, is coming up in a couple of weeks, and we hope that you can all attend. It's on using the Luke Davis Field. There are so many wonderful things that are happening in this department. I do not want to come across as being negative, because that's really not who I am, but it can be a little overwhelming at times. So I have a whiteboard now. We had a whiteboard installed in my office so that I could clearly track my projects. You talk about tracking. I know you can't come take a picture of it. But, it is that there is a lot on our plate. And, like I said, we all agree that $15 million is a lot. And I think we all want to be involved in that process. And there are times when I don't even feel as involved in the process as I should. But with Public Works help, I know with Laura's help, we will get you more information. I owe you that, and that is my commitment to you.
Well, thank you for that, Jason. I don't have much more to add. I just had a couple things I wanted to say. I think you've been heard loud and clear on the need for more facility space. This is an idea the mayor had mentioned. I think there's been an ongoing thread of conversation, but I just wanted to ask a speculative question based on what you had mentioned about, there's some funding set aside for park acquisition in the west side, and there's also, which is arguably not enough to buy any land, less than $400,000 can't really buy any piece of real estate anywhere in Orange County. But there's also the Women's Club, Costa Mesa Women's Club. The facility's aging, it could really use some attention. And so I'm just curious, has that been explored in terms of the city partnering with the Women's Club to have some sort of an agreement where we can add that space to our inventory of community centers? They're a wonderful group of people, the board of the Women's Club.
We actually have looked at it for on-the-spot reporting. We turned to Monique Villasenor.
So I've actually gone to the last 2 Women's Club meetings. I'm now an active member. of the Costa Mesa Women's Club. I've talked quite a bit with their board. Their last luncheon, we actually had Lucy Sang, our community outreach worker, give a presentation. So I communicate with them often, and they are very dedicated to their space and reactivating their space on their own as a club. Now, I've had mentioned partnerships going forward, very easing into it. They are a homegrown group of women that really likes to assist community organizations. So at this time, we're not actively pursuing kind of a joint partnership in that space, but I am involved with that group, if that answers any of that question.
Well, it's awesome you're involved with the group. But I do think, due to the need for more community space, as we've heard tonight, I think it might be prudent of us to press that with them.
The conversation is ongoing, but they are, I like to say, they're very dedicated to their space and the history of the women's club. I could say that, and they want to become more active. So if that entails engaging them in more conversations, that's absolutely something that we can do. But like I said, they're very committed to reactivating and just really populating that space again for themselves and the community, which I support because it's all shared interest. They support a lot of the same organizations that we do, so.
Got it. I was just curious, because I know some community groups have tried to book the space and have been turned down. So I'm wondering if there's a way to make it, like a publicly available community space.
I was not aware of that, but I can bring that up with them and engage in discussions with them and see, maybe get some answers for the next meeting for that.
That would be wonderful. Awesome. But yeah, that was just a concern I wanted to express, given the discussion about the need for community space. So just following up on that point that we talked about earlier. But that's the end of my comments tonight. Again, I appreciate all the work you are doing. Director Minter, I appreciate you taking that feedback into consideration so we can move these forward.
And the offer does stand. I value as commissioners, and I've offered multiple times that if you do want to come in, I appreciate one-on-one opportunities to talk where it isn't, live during a commission meeting. Maybe we can get more into some of the detailed conversations. I do want to hear you out. I do want to listen, incorporate, and try to share some of the concerns about some of the discussions that we have and making sure that we're not doing anything out of the Brown Act or anything like that. So, I very much enjoy commissions. We have a wonderful Arts Commission, our Fairview Steering Committee, our Animal Services Committee that will soon be transferred to our Police Department. And then, as Kevin mentioned, he's Historic Preservation Committee. So our department is the leader in, citywide volunteerism in terms of committees and commissions. And, I hope that it stays that way, even though, there was the recommendation earlier to get rid of the Historic Preservation Committee in terms of merging it with our Historical Society and trying to become more efficient in terms of not duplicating the services that those two organizations provide. But when I mentioned the open space, when I mentioned new facilities, I would love to think beyond, using old stuff. I want to build. I would love to leave a mark on Costa Mesa that included building a park on the west side that had a community center of its own. Right? I know Think Together had some ideas and plans for that. I support, that concept, but I would love for the city to be able to do that. $374,000 won't do it. We do have hopefully developer money coming through the One Metro West project. There is possibility, and I will try to keep the commission up to date on the talks that involve the Fairview Developmental Center, because we do hope that in the discussion regarding Fairview Developmental Center, that we will be able to secure between 20 and 25 acres of that property for open space, for recreational space. But that isn't ours to decide. That's, not a commitment at this time, but that is something that I know the city had interests in if we are going to develop that in terms of housing. They are looking at an RFP process. I believe the state has a consultant on board that's looking at the best way to utilize I'm trying to think of how many acres are over there, 40, 50 acres of space that's Fairview Developmental Center. So I think that's an exciting opportunity to try to bring more recreational facilities on that space. So that would be great. And again, that is something that I, would come before the commission, and I would make sure that that was, that you were all well aware of a huge project like that, because I think of the impact that it'll have on our community.
That's very exciting. Absolutely. Definitely more practical though, if we have less than 400,000 to renovate an existing building, because you can't build anything new with less than $500,000. So
I think it was shared by the council. That's only seed money, and we'll be looking at, towards the end of the budget discussion, they talked about potential carryover, or a carryover balance, and having some of that carryover balance go also to support some of those projects.
I think for the 5-year cumulative projections were 12 million in total for the West Side Park Fund, actually.
yeah, I mean, I'm just concerned by like parking money in some projects. I think for the projects in West Side, that was another delay that I don't think the commission was kept aligned on. Some of us thought, like when the money was allocated in the budget last year, those projects would move forward. But anyways, I don't want to distract us. I know we're at the end of the agenda here. There's no public comments, so we're going to open and close. Seeing no public comments, we'll close public comments. If there's any additional commission member or staff comments, seeing none. All right, well, that brings us to adjournment. We will adjourn until our next meeting on Thursday, July 13th, 2023. So thank you all for your patience.